let's go through this lesson 22. And if there are any questions, then you just let me know. But let's quickly just start off here. So we are again, obviously these are, I'm not going to reiterate how it is essential, because the fact that you are going to now move into your on-air aspect. Okay, so so we are looking at what you are like, you know what I'm saying to you. And this is something that's going to come up in your final, in your S1, this character profile, where you are. So when you see it here, and when you see it in terms of the theoretical description, it's going to almost sound like or look like a little bit of a kind of like a Tinder profile. Do you understand what I'm saying to you, right? So let me give you an example here. This is the one that they literally give you in your S1. So Johnny is both sophisticated and corny. He has the latest electronic gadgets and knows how to use them. His sense of humor and style remains you of John Stewart, or reminds you of John Stewart, but he often elicits groans with corny punchlines, and it goes on and on. So I don't quite like this particular example, because it kind of leads students down a wrong path. It leads them down a Tinder profile. You know what I'm saying? Explanation of who they are, but the character profile is really important, because I need you to just upscale it, or update it to like a kind of a LinkedIn character profile, right? So in other words, a little bit more professional, okay, where you do harness or focus your strengths, right, and your weaknesses in terms of your personality traits, which do sell well on air. Do you understand? As well as an entertainer, as a broadcaster, as a practitioner. Do you understand what I'm saying to you, right? So you need to, when you develop this character profile, I want you to go and encompass everything, and remember to make it essential to someone that is. Think of it like a talent scout. So I want to hire you for an MC gig. I want to go look at, let's say, your profile. I want to look at your pictures, but also I want to see what the description of you is about. So if you match like a good like a staff party, I mean, and it's you're perfect for like whatever it is, like an imperial car, whatever, I don't know, right? Then I'm going to hire you. You understand? So you must start working on this character profile, which I think is the part of the quiz. Okay, again, I push back to the whole fan page, I push back to the Twitter account, I push back to the LinkedIn profile, and I push back to the Instagram, where it has to now start looking and sounding the same, except with obviously each platform, you're going to have, obviously different executions of your material. You understand? So a Facebook fan page requires certain types of material to be hosted on there or posted on there. Same with Instagram, same with Twitter. And I know we've had this conversation before, but I'm going to have it again, because if I go and I check now, so let's say I go check yours, I go check anyone else's, it's not done. You understand? So everyone really needs to get on the same page and start marketing your brand, and you can only market it when it's finished. Don't I call it the Eye of Sauron. So from the Lord of the Rings, don't get people's Eye of Sauron, so the attention on you. If your brand is not, if it's not slick, and it's not finished, and it's not, you understand, like I say, continuous and solid. So in other words, it needs to look, like I say, the same across all platforms, and it needs to be, again, have a good foundation. So you've got to get some kind of momentum when you're going with the Twitter and the Instagram, and with the, before you go and you advertise it. So like right now, for example, I have Instagram and I've got Facebook ads that are running, but it's only because so they run specifically for my audiobook right now, because I'm still pushing that, because the second part or edition will come out after lockdown. But the thing is that I kept all of those social mediums quiet, like I say, quiet, until I could adapt a bit of a rhythm across all of them, so that it doesn't feel like confusing work, right? And I say to you, get the calendar that you can download from anywhere. But anyway, so we go back to this whole thing about who you are, and you go, and there's a lot of descriptive adjectives there that you can obviously sell. All right. So what's going to happen is that you'll look at those adjectives, you'll look at your personality traits, you'll point them down, and then again, like what is it that makes you you? Again, we spoke about that X factor last year. Now you got to start wording it into something, and that something has to be, once again, sellable. Okay, so that's why the class exercise is literally you completing what one question in the S1 in the summative will be, which is this: write character profile about yourself, and then you'll answer the questions of like, who are you, what are your points of view, what do you stand for, and how will your personality translate to media. Okay, so I'm going to say media, not a show. Okay, so I'm saying so all those things will be great and will really paint you in a really bright light. You understand? If you go and you work on this, and remember, again, it's got to be continuous across different platforms. If you have enough of a service to provide, then you know to go and create a landing page and make sure that your brand is descriptive across the landing page. Okay, so we're going to now look at different aspects of you being on air and then knowing how to stand out. Okay. So in radio, writing is a lost art that needs to be something that makes a bit of a comeback, right? So we're not saying that you have to script everything, because as I just heard with your podcast, I can hear you're reading it, but I can hear like it is. It's very clear. You understand? So the thing is that so you've got to, even when you start reading this stuff off in a show, you're going to have prep, but you're not going to read the prep. You're going to basically translate. I say you're going to process that information into a conversation to your listener, right? So even like I say, I also scripted the podcast. I did, and the thing is, you got to know how to execute it well enough, okay, so that it doesn't sound very scripted. Let's say with the execution of podcasts, especially if it's going to be something like a narrative, which is what we did. Now we did a narrative as opposed to something that's interactive or I say conceptual or introspective. So we have like a feedback session or whatever it may be. This was narrative, so we will have a good, a solid script, but then also you need to sell it as if you're talking to the person, not again at the person. So every break, every word is an opportunity to affect how a personality is perceived. And here are two tools that you can use, right? The first one is banter. So banter is it almost sounds off like humor, but it isn't. It really is about how well you communicate, right, with let's say a team that you might have, or banter across you and the audience. Okay, so it says it design conversation that the audience gets to know your character. Okay, so please don't confuse the word or the word character for like a cartoon character. It's your character, your characteristics, you understand, that define what you're going to exponentially, like you're going to just blast that out when you're on air. So whoever you are, you have to times that by 10 and then go on air and accentuate your best characteristics so that people can quickly identify you from somebody else and then quickly identify with you as a person. So production always makes us feel safe. It does. A good production, like I said, like the ones that I just played for you, a good production is concise production. We can always feel that at the very least the show formatically will sound great. So we'll have great songs, a great playlist that has been scheduled according to what the people want to hear, when they want to hear it, and including imaging, adverts, and all the other surround sound. Okay, of your show, that's going to be perfect. So even if your links are not that great in the beginning, um, you've got this really solid foundation to lean back on, right? So you want to perform with passion every day. It doesn't so if you're for example, say if you're sick, stay at home. I know that's so this is a bit of extreme. Stay at home. Don't go on air and put people through your um, kind of watered down version. So you might go and even do your best, like you might do, you really give it a good shot. But the truth of the matter is, like, you need to go get some rest, you need to get better, and then give them the best service that you can, right? So when you're feeling great, when you're feeling good, you gotta sound great, all right? And that is by performing with passion, and that is being interested in your show the way that you expect them to be interested in your show. So when I say so, that does that mean always doing stuff that we want to? No, obviously not. The whole point is to do things that they want you to do, and that's how you feel passionate about um, your show and your execution. Because how much you got to feed off the fact that you love that they love you. Okay, because that is the personality. The type of personality that works well on air is someone that feeds off people's attention and it sounds bad, but approval, because approval means they like you, and they like you means we're going to get more listeners and more numbers, and the numbers are going to up, and etc, right? So you want to please them, and that's you got to like I say, get off on that aspect just alone, so that they, if they love it, you love doing it. Okay. um Character benchmarks include: if you're not convinced that the listener reacts to what they know, watch what happens at a concert when the band plays a song from a new album that hasn't been released. People go to the toilet and they go and buy drinks, and that is true. You remember the last international. So let's go international. Like songwriter or whatever it is, artist that came to South Africa. You went and you attended the concert. You want to hear that. You want to hear the good stuff, the stuff that you know. Do you understand? And when they do, it doesn't matter how big of an artist they are. If they sing, which they do, their new songs, you kind of switch off, at the same time. So what does that actually mean? It says you got to decide where your benchmark is. In other words, the stuff that people will always like, they're going to tune in and they're going to lock in to your personality. They don't want to know something brand new about you every single day for the rest of your on-air career. So when I say that, I mean, don't surprise them by being someone else. Okay, so you can absolutely share. As you grow, they grow with you. So in other words, they will find out new things about you as you move along, but don't let it be a surprise. In other words, so today I'm being cocky, but tomorrow I'm being sensitive, and I'm not a sensitive human being, or I'm not a cocky human being. And we have many like I say, commercial jocks that actually don't, they work maybe in the nights, and they get like a day show, or they move to the weekends, whatever it is, and their entire demeanor changes. Not their atmosphere, their demeanor. So you can't actually recognize the person if you're listening to them, because they're acting and behaving very differently. Sorry. So we want you to stay the same, but then adapt to the atmosphere. So if I'm putting you on a Sunday morning, like, it's still you, but you gotta tune into like the Sunday mode, and what your listeners are feeling like, where they are, and so you won't be as hyper as you are on a top 40 show or whatever it is. But every situation calls for a different tone, right? Okay, so when you look at your content, your style, that will also adapt to where you are sitting on the schedule. Content and style combine to inspire your audience. Listeners don't form a relationship with content, but they do with your style. Your personality alone will not overcome weak content. So you can have the most amazing personality, But if you have bad content, it doesn't really matter. You can't sell it. So you got to do both, okay? And both are just as important as the other. So great content or relevant content, the way that you execute it as well, then goes to your personality, and then obviously honing on the real strengths there. So content is how the audience is usually introduced to your show, because the aspect and I say the aspect and atmosphere of your content, right, will also, if I'm listening to you for the first time, will give me a feeling, you understand, of what your show is like, what it's about. Is it political? Is it hard hitting journalism? Is it musical? Is it entertainment? Is it conversational? Is it lifestyle? Whatever it may be, you understand. I'm going to start making some very real and accurate assumptions based on that content and the way that you obviously um, produce that, okay, and present that. So two talk shows on competing stations who happen to be on the exact same time, dealing with the essential same material. One show is about personalities. One show is all about the personalities of the two shows. They're natural, witty, entertaining, and generally likable. They also fail to develop their content, have shallow opinions, and lack depth in their topics. The other one features one that is more prepared as a personality. He is or she is virtual encyclopedia, asks a great interview questions and explores and so on and so forth. Right. So now we have them at the very same time. It's very obvious who we'll tune into. The one that's more prepared, the one that is. So it's not just about preparing like you're studying for an exam. It is about preparing in a way that is consumable and reactive to the audience. So one constantly disappoints in content. The other has no personality. Okay. Neither show ranks well in ratings. Okay, but both style and content are essential. Listeners respond to style, but depth is really measured in content. So what are we looking at in terms of how we deal or how we prepare for content? uh, John Porical, right, emphasizes how critical it is to be committed to the process, and nothing beats show prep. The moment your talent thinks that they've got it and they don't need to prepare, they begin to downward spiral. So great shows sound spontaneous. So it sounds like people know that you prepped. Do you understand? But the fact that it comes so I say naturally, I suppose, but there's another word I'm trying to look for. Is the fact that it is so well prepped, and you are, like I say, you're mitigating like your I say your movement, right, through different times of the show, through different atmospheres of the show, through different attitudes and whatever it is of your listeners at a particular day, at a particular time, at a particular need or want, right? So it never sounds forced, rushed, or dull. And Scott Shannon's 3 steps um, say that you need to, one, prepare, you need to then concentrate, and that is a real. I say real time concentration means that when I put on the mic. So this is why if you do a 3 hour show and you do it right, you will be exhausted because you have to monitor every single word that comes out of your mouth. Where in everyday life, like I say, everything else but being on air, you can do it with your, as I say, with your subconscious kind of running most of your communication, most of your interaction. And so we and we are, and we repeat certain words and whatever it is, that's when you know you're doing it. I say not submissively, subconsciously, right? But on air, we cannot have any of that of those idiosyncrasies that we have on everyday conversation. Even now, I have a ton of idiosyncrasies, and I'm talking to you. But if I go on air, I got to shut them down. I got to switch them off completely. And then obviously moderation, which means do it up to the point that it needs to be done and nothing further and no less either. So for example, you sat there and you prepped, some podcasts or whatever it may be. Like, did you? So I saw there was 3 minutes. Was the 3 minutes, or did it call for it, or did you make your point? Did you, or did you need another 30 seconds, or could you have cut off another 30 seconds, or whatever it may be, right? So we have to be very cognizant about the fact that, say again?
Sorry, that 3-minute podcast, I actually thought it was a 4-minute, like wham
It is.
bang on the, like, I don't know, for me, out of all three, and it's the last one. And you can, when you listen to it, you can tell me whether you agree or you disagree.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I thought it was on the money. It was, I thought it was just over 4 minutes, and I wasn't even gonna cut it.
Good.
And then when I was uploading it, it turned out to be at 3 minutes, but I had said everything that was necessary. And I was like, you know what? For me, of all three, I know I sucked in the two, I must confess. And
don't put things in my head. Don't put things in my head, because I'm gonna expect now. I'm gonna go in and think, oh my God, this is gonna suck. Anyway, yeah, continue. Yes.
It was not over. I didn't over prepare it. I didn't overthink it in my head. I just went in. And everything that you're covering now, like the energy, the personality, like I can see it living with all my other podcasts.
Oh yes, because I mean, like I say, you've done well in the past, because you know what, you don't. What it comes down to is, don't overthink it. The moment you locked into overthinking it is the moment you've actually lost that little battle. You understand? So the moment I'm thinking too much about how to be natural is the moment I will never be natural. You understand? And the moment I have to think about how my energy needs to be is the moment it's going to sound forced and fake and whatever it may be, and uncomfortable. But if I can focus on the fact that these are skills that I have already, or I've mastered already, and I can just talk to you as I'm talking to you right now with a little bit of like I woke up this morning, I had a good rest, I ate something, I feel good, I want to be here, I want to do my work. You understand what I'm saying to you? It changes the tone and the temperament of how it is that I'm interacting with you. If you just noted the way that I just changed all that. Did you? You understand? Okay. So I'm going to assume yes. Right. So the thing is, it is about being conscientious as to what is coming out your mouth, but also how it's coming out. And you just have to lock in to that moment and you'll be fine. If you're sad, then you'll sound sad. If you're tired of something, you'll sound tired of something. If you're happy, or if you're excited, if you're whatever it is, or you're invested, you'll sound all of these things naturally. You understand? You don't have to put any work into that, because you can easily do that in everyday life and conversation, right? And so the thing is, when you are locked in, when I say they're locked into that moment, so minute to minute, second to second, whatever it is, right, on air, you automatically broadcast with passion. You understand? And investment and whatever it may be. So so that is the only thing, but it does take practice, because you have to still learn the desk. You still also have to prepare for the next caller or the song that has to play or whatever it is while you are doing this link, and knowing where to go with it and how to make it sound great, or what do you want from your listener, whatever it may be. You have to live in the moment, and that takes some practice. Okay. And you can switch it on and off once you master it at any one time. Let's go look at this preparation. So just because we don't see the audience doesn't mean they're not there. Okay, so prep allows us to make sure that we breathe life into topics, okay? And that's why you prep everything every time you go on a show. So there are many ways to prepare content, and the whole thing is about going and see, we are overloaded with information right now. And the thing is that also lends to our our habits, so our consumption habits. So if we look at so let's say you have a consumption habit of going on Twitter and you'll follow certain people, and you're always getting your content from there. Do you understand? Or you'll naturally look there for content. You're actually missing out on what is happening on all the other social mediums, or what other people are saying, or what other content providers are providing you with. You understand? So you have to adopt a really good habit of being able to really kind of swim around all these mediums and be able to find very diverse content, okay, as opposed to only finding it from one kind of boring core or whatever it is, okay. So if you're a gatherer, try to avoid using external sources for content for a full month as a good practice. So we do this when you go into a bit of what is the word I'm looking for, a lull, right? So a bit of a stalemate with yourself, because remember, you have to create content for the rest of your life, okay. So you will go into a lull where you don't feel creative, you can't find stuff, and also there's nothing really happening as well. So you've got to also force yourself to really be observative. I think that's a word, right? In your everyday life, okay? Tune into life and be alert that everything has potential to become great material for your show because of the way that you translate it to great material. So the good first step is to obviously keep yourself updated with what is happening. What are the audience worried about? What are they concerned about? What makes them happy? How do they spend their time? What are they talking about today? What is on television, talk shows, social media activity, influence blogs, or influential blogs? What is the most important sports story? How does the new fall fashion line in Paris help affect whatever our socio, whatever, not going to say economic, but our socio status here in South Africa? Observation is where you learn what really is happening in the community, because we can assume, and your job is to assume, the closest possible relevance of content for your audience. That is what makes you a great broadcaster. But you have to stop and listen instead of smell the roses. You understand? Listen to them roses, because there's so many things that your audience is talking about, or people are talking about, that you are not locked into, because you're a human being, and every day you also have habits and things and places that you go to. I'm saying content wise, and conversations that you invest in, or whatever it is. So you're not representative of everyone out there. You have to stop, and you have to listen, and you have to read, and you have to watch, or whatever it is, right? So it says that the details will help the audience visualize, as we always know. So the way that you do incorporate that information is very important, but the way that we execute it is that color that will make it really great. So I was driving down the road yesterday. Try saying, there was there I was in my Prius driving down Main Street right there by the clock tower. So you can already immediately, you're locked into where I am, okay? Wherever we have a clock tower in South Africa, I don't know. Okay, so we want to use descriptive stuff, because we can't give them something to read, and we can't give them something to see. So we need to give them something to hear. Once you've prepared your topics, review the direction it'll take in performance. So in other words, some of the greatest moments in radio are spontaneous, unforeseen, unprepared, unscripted. In fact, all of them actually are. So, but that only comes from the fact that you are well foundated in preparation, okay? Because when you are prepared, it's like you release the shackles from your hands and your feet, so you can go berserk, go be magical. You understand? But because you always have your fallback of your prep. Okay. And the best, like I say, the magic moments, we call them magic moments on air, come when you're well prepped and it is spontaneous. So you have this really special moment with a listener, or between your team, or even yourself. You have an epiphany, and you execute, and you sound so clear and determined, and just like great, magical. You understand? So I say it's a magic moment. We do that because we have the foundation and strength in prep. Okay, so this obviously warrants concentration, like I said to you before, and this is the second factor of this three tier that we're talking about. So concentration is discipline, to teach, to guide, to instill inner control. Many programming rules have evolved, but this one still holds up. So you get to the point, no wasted words. Okay. Every time you talk with determination and with purpose. Okay. So when you talk with purpose, I will get, you will, I will, we will get to a point quicker. And when I say quicker, 30 seconds can feel like 7 minutes if you're not doing it correctly. But 7 minutes can feel like 30 seconds if you're doing it correctly. Concentration is getting the essence of entertainment in its value, and find the one thing that commands attention to lead listeners to hearing more. So this is repetitive of what you understand from last year in terms of, like, even in terms of the news, which we'll cover in much later classes, right? Where you need that hook. You understand? We need a lead. We need a way to be able to get their attention and say, without being. We don't always have to be controversial, because if the content is controversial, it speaks for itself. Okay. If it takes 15 to 20 minutes to introduce a topic, rethink it from the audience's point of view. Now that is very, that's an extreme, I know. So you're not going to talk about a topic just on introduction for 20 minutes, right? But you are going to talk about a topic for about 15 to 30 seconds, you understand? I'm saying in terms of introducing them to the aspect of what it is that we're talking about, but which part of that is important in today's conversation and what's relevant to them. So when they listen and invest their time in your content, the topics take on a life of their own. Why do we make it sound so, like I say, there's a word that I'm looking for, but I want to kind of make it sound fantastical, okay? Because it really is. Your content can't take shape until the listener makes that shape for you, because you don't know who's going to phone in. You don't know who's going to WhatsApp voice note you. You don't know the reactions. And so the content will take its final form in the shape of how well they interact and contribute to the topic. And I hope that makes sense. We're nearly done with this one. So concentration of force. Another aspect of concentration is the ability to repeat messages without being redundant. So for example, if we have a promotion, we got to keep talking about that promotion in a new, and a fresh way every time we go. And we, one, obviously want to please the people that are paying for that promotion, but two, also, it is part of your job to continuously have to talk about things that are advertised and that are promoted on your station, right? Because we want to be able to, again, repetition is the best way to sell something, and this does not have to do with your content itself. Okay, so this is, again, in terms of marketing something. You're marketing a commercial, marketing a product, you're marketing a promotion, marketing another show, or you're pre-promoting a specific interview or a call out or whatever it is that's going to happen. It's really big, it's really important, it's really great. It's a milestone of your show. You understand? So we want to be able to take and talk about those things to make sure that the listener will register. Okay. So just a couple more points about concentration. Take an ordinary sheet of paper, stretching it between your hands and holding both ends tightly in front of you. This paper represents the audience's awareness until a message punches through. All of the efforts of communication are wasted, which is quite a cool, it's quite a nice little kind of visual practice to make you understand, listen, you can't drop the ball every time you switch on that mic. Ask someone to place the palm of their hand in the center of the paper and press down. So this represents you now holding their attention, instead of you, let's say, maybe slipping up with a paper, letting go, and it falling down. And as it goes along, that's what it's trying to emulate, so that you just visualize that piece of paper, you holding it up, you holding it strong, and you're not, like I say, letting it go and breaking it. So if you need to, so one thing that actually confuses your attention when you go on air is like, for example, I just said so I would go and I'd write on a paper a little mark, like I'd write a little mark, 1 every time I say I have a bit of a cop out. You understand, an audible cop out. But the thing is, it's not about counting them. It's about the fact that I am actually distracting myself from being present on air, which is the actual lesson that's supposed to be learned, which is the same thing as this piece of paper. If I have the piece of paper in front of me and I'm holding it up while I'm doing a real-time on-air link, right? Half of my attention is actually on the paper. And it's reminding me to constantly be present. So only half of my efforts are going to be communicated to that listener. So it's supposed to visualize the problem of you losing track, or like, going on a sideline, or subconscious, like I say, sidebar with your presentation. Okay, and that's all about concentrating on the fact that we really need to give them what they need when they need it, obviously, again, in real time. So let's look at moderation, which is the last one. A comedian must know when the joke is over. Agree? Like, we cannot, there's nothing worse, and a great way to obviously understand this. When the joke is done and they carry on, then it's not funny anymore. Same with content. When it's done and it's finished and it's boring, then it's boring because it's irrelevant and it's over. And everyone has the ability to understand when something is finished. Okay, so moderation is something that you will learn out of practice. You're not supposed to get it in the beginning. You can only learn it by doing it. Okay, so when you go on air, it's okay to talk rubbish. Rather talk rubbish and then start moderating yourself down, to be able to learn the skill, as opposed to trying to focus on that in the very beginning, when you're actually supposed to be capitalizing or owning, creating ownership on a different skill set, which is like, I want you to broadcast, in a confident style. I want you to be focused on great content. I want you to focus on how to throw forward, or how to back announce, or how to tease something. I don't want you to focus on moderation, because that'll come naturally to you. Okay, and it'll only come through error. All right. So I'm going to stop with that one, and I'm going to stop that recording.